This is Renova. Colombina may be coming to Natlan, and Dottore may be using celestial power. Sit back and grab a snack because we have a lot to discuss. Starting off, Mavuika gives us some information regarding the ley lines.
The forces of the Abyss have always sought to corrode Teyvat. The ley lines were created by the heavenly principles, and it's only with their protection that Teyvat is able to nurture all forms of life. Any attempt by humanity to harness the power of the Abyss is met with swift punishment. That unyielding approach is also the source of great sorrow and hatred. The situation goes beyond a simple discussion of right versus wrong.
This line just further confirms what we already know about the heavenly principles. Their main priority is protecting Teyvat. We've been shown this time and time again throughout Teyvat in the form of celestial nails, and Nahida's second story quest further highlighted the purpose they serve.
I'm referring to what was used to fight against the Abyss. It once repaired the rifts of Teyvat long ago. It has the ability to purify and stabilize powers that shouldn't exist in Teyvat. Forbidden knowledge that its light has shone upon is kept here forever in a different form.
The celestial nails possess the unique ability to stabilize abyssal corruption, but they also significantly damage the places they land on. So, any civilizations unlucky enough to get hit have all either been destroyed or heavily damaged in the process. The Curse of Immortality may serve a similar purpose, denying people exposed to the Abyss the right to return to the ley lines to keep their souls from corrupting Iriminsul. But the destruction and mental anguish caused by these defensive methods have led to many citizens of the damaged civilizations harboring hatred and animosity for the heavenly principles. However, because it's ultimately done to protect the majority of life on Teyvat, the heavenly principles' actions go beyond the simple question of right versus wrong, or good versus evil. This destructive yet protective nature of the heavenly principles may be why the Abyss Twin has complicated feelings towards them, rather than pure hatred.
Just look at Kari Bear. He was so pure and single-minded. He brought comfort to the people of this world, even though he was denied the very right to be a part of it. Of course, that's only one example. My feelings about the heavenly principles are too complicated to explain in just a few words.
Although sometimes necessary, the heavenly principles' methods can be very cruel. An example of this is how Capitano and other innocent Khaenri'ahns who had nothing to do with the 5 sinners still got cursed. And while on the topic of people who dislike the heavenly principles, let's listen to what Mavuika said about the Fatui regarding the Gnosis.
The captain's subordinates sent us a letter he left behind. After our duel at the stadium, he asked Tsaritsa to remove him from the responsibility of obtaining the Gnosis, and his request was granted. But, since this is the final Gnosis, I doubt that Tsaritsa will let the situation stand. Perhaps the replacement Harbinger will be sent here soon. I'll make sure to be prepared.
Since Capitano was unable to retrieve the Gnosis, the Tsaritsa will be sending another Harbinger to collect it in his stead. As of now, I have 2 different replacement Harbingers in mind, with the first being none other than Colombina. Many people have speculated that Colombina may be a Seelie given her many angelic motifs. Not only does her headpiece look similar to the wings of a seraphim, a 6-winged angel, but the pattern on her eye mask and headpiece looks similar to the pattern found on Seelie courts. She also has pale, moon-like skin, which matches the description of the Seelies given to us in The Pale Princess and the 6 Pygmies, and the Traveler's description of Nabu Malikata. Her closed eyes may even hide some horrific Renova-like eyes, but I'll talk more about her in a future video. Presuming Colombina is a Seelie, Yohwalt Kuten may convince Mavuika to give her the Gnosis. Given Natlan's connection to and reliance on Seelies, Mavuika may be willing to give it to Colombina if she can give her a good reason. It's also possible that Colombina will just fight Mavuika for the Gnosis, but I don't see Hoyo letting Colombina beat her after having the #1 Harbinger lose to her. I also think that Hoyo will want to hold off on showing us how Colombina fights till we make it to Snezhnaya, with Ronova's eye form serving as a potential teaser for the biblical horror Colombina will bring. The second replacement Harbinger I have in mind is Pantalone. He is a lower-ranking Harbinger, being placed at number 9, but it'd actually make sense if he is the one to retrieve the Gnosis. Natlan has finally concluded their 500-year-long war against the Abyss, but many places got devastated in the process. In case you forgot, Pantalone owns the Northland Bank in Liyue, and he oversees Snezhnaya's economy, making him the wealthiest amongst the Harbingers. I could see Pantalone striking a deal with Mavuika, offering her money and resources to help Natlan rebuild in exchange for her Gnosis. Pantalone also works alongside Dottore, so I won't be surprised if we briefly see him in Natlan and then get a formal introduction in Snezhnaya or Nod-Krai. Speaking of Nod-Krai, Mavuika also shared some interesting information on what the Fatui are doing there.
On a related note, I've acquired some new intel about the fragment that suddenly appeared in the sky. Such fragments are known as Ancient Moon's remnants, relics of secret source technology from the era of the ancient dragons. Coincidentally, a small squad of Fatui infiltrated our borders around the same time it appeared. Our investigation revealed them to be the subordinates of the Doctor. Their stronghold is in Nod-Krai. The people there can use a very special power. It's said that this mysterious power predates even the 7 elements of Teyvat.
Whatever the Fatui are working on in Nod-Krai connects both a power that predates the elements and the ancient moon remnants we saw in the crack in the false sky. My initial thought was that the power in Nod-Krai may be Phlogiston, since we learned that it predates the creation of the 7 elements back in 5.1. But seeing how little Mavuika knows about the mysterious power, it may be something even more ancient than Phlogiston. In Natlan, the Fatui have a facility where they've been extracting Phlogiston from Saurians in order for them to conduct research on it. One of the handwritten notes found in the facility reads, "Our Lord has never revealed what all this Phlogiston research is meant to be about. That person from Natlan he brought with him the last couple of times seemed kinda suspicious, but we trust our Lord's judgment." Although it hasn't been confirmed, I presume the Lord of the Fatui working at the facility is Dottore. I don't believe it's Capitano because we haven't seen him show any interest in Phlogiston, and he doesn't seem like the type to conduct cruel experiments on Saurians, unlike Dottore. We haven't been told who the suspicious person from Natlan Dottore brought with him is, but it may have been the Sage of the Stolen Flame, the same dragon who taught humans how to use Phlogiston. Another note reads, something Phlogiston, special constitution, something solid and liquid. This implies that Dottore is researching not only the different forms of Phlogiston, but also the makeup or origin of Phlogiston itself. During the 5.3 Archon Quest, Johwalt Kuten says something that stuck out as mysterious to me. In the beginning, there was darkness until someone set themselves aflame. Only then did the universe know light. Given that Phlogiston is essentially the light that gets refracted into the 7 elements, this line may just be referencing how Phlogiston, light, came into existence, and the mysterious power that's being used in Nod-Krai may just be Phlogiston. However, I imagine Mavuika would know a bit more about the power if that was all it is. Instead, the initial light of the universe may be what gave birth to Phlogiston. If so, the mysterious power in Nod-Krai may be the power of whatever came before Phlogiston. And the primordial power that gave birth to the initial light that birthed Phlogiston may be the same blue energy we see within celestial nails. Warning in advance, we're about to enter serious crack theory territory, and everything beyond this point should be taken with the smallest grain of salt. So far, all we know about the celestial nails is that the ruler of Celestia drops them to purify abyssal corruption, and they can change the material structure of their surroundings, which includes causing or correcting leyline disorders. And as mentioned by Nahida, any abyssal power that the nail's light has shone on is then stabilized and kept in a different, less chaotic form. And the lumenstone adjuvant we used to purify corruption inside the chasm was made from lumen spars, crystals that were altered by the celestial nail's effects on the ley lines. A sky blue crystal that glitters so brightly that it brings forth echoes of the heavens above, which cannot be seen from underground. If you hold it up to your ear, you can almost hear a soft sigh coming from within. This might sound strange, but this crystal also gives off a faint warmth. And suspiciously enough, the lumenstone adjuvant is likened to a sun in the traveler's palm, lighting the way through lightless tunnels and bringing comfort where all is dark. In other words, the celestial nail allows it to work as a sun-like purifying light that gives a faint warmth. If a crystal that was merely altered by the celestial nail can serve as a warm, sun-like light, the power within the celestial nails may be a hot, all-consuming light. almost like a hot flame that could be used to bring light to a dark universe. But another odd thing about the nails is that the blue color that radiates from them is identical to the blue color within Irminsul. Irminsul serves as a repository for all the memories and data of Teyvat. The ley lines serve as the roots of the Irminsul tree, sucking up the information of everything that happens on Teyvat and filtering it through its roots before redistributing it back into Irminsul, Teyvat's memory bank. For the life on Teyvat, Irminsul essentially serves as the foundation of reality itself, as well as the medium in which they're reborn. After dying, things that have been allowed re-entry into the ley lines dissipate into blue particles, the color of stable data, while things that are chaotic or have been denied entry dissipate into red particles. This is why the ley lines constantly reject forbidden knowledge. It's data that's so chaotic even the Irminsul can't comprehend it, and trying to do so may cause Irminsul itself to become unstable. This filtration process is precisely why the ley lines are so effective in combating the Abyss. It keeps the Abyss from gaining direct access to the memories within Irminsul. But when chaotic abyssal data does make its way into the ley lines, it causes ley line disorders like the ones seen in the Spiral Abyss. If the abyssal corruption begins causing a ley line disorder that is too great to be ignored, Celestia handles it by dropping divine nails to stabilize the chaotic data. Yapping aside, I say all this to say that both Irminsul and the Celestial Nails have the power to stabilize and break down data into different forms and lives. Irminsul stabilizes the data within it into individual forms so that people can be reborn, and the nails work to stabilize any disorders that make it into Irminsul's ley lines. And if you take a look at Dottore, you find that both his in-game and manga designs are riddled with vials and crystals that glow the exact same color as the energy within the Irminsul tree and celestial nails. If the power within Dottore's vials is the same power as seen in Irminsul and the celestial nails, it may also be what allows him to create his different segments. To surpass the limitations of the human mind and lifespan, Dottore created multiple segments of himself from at different points in his life. We haven't yet been told how he creates the segments, but if he has access to power that'd allow him to stabilize data and memories, he may be exporting copies of his data from Irminsul into vials, and then using the stabilization energy of the nails to give the data new forms that mimic his own appearance. Similar to how Focalors split herself into Fiorina, but not identical. Up to this point, Hoyo has always used red to symbolize unstable and chaotic data. The Sustainer's glitchy arms, Renova's glitchy eyes, the souls in the chasm, the forbidden knowledge capsules, Arlecchino, Hilitrolls, all have been shown with the color red. With this in mind, it may be the same reason why in the manga, Dottore's eyes are red. It's a sign that they come from unstable data, the only visual indication that they are an imperfect creation, just like the star on Albedo's neck. Dottore ranks as high in the Fatui as he does because he's one of the only people who knows how to make use of the primordial power, the power of stabilization, the power of creation. If you were able to make it through that without calling me crazy, allow me to put the final nail in the coffin. I believe the source of the power within the celestial nails, the Irminsul tree, and Dottore's vials have all already been shown to us. It's the only source of blue energy in-game that Hoyoverse has directly told us is primordial and used for creation, and that source is none other than the Genesis crystals. Before you label me a heretic, please just give me a few more minutes to explain my reasoning. During the 5.3 Archon Quest, we learned that the main difference between light and the Abyss is hope. Both are made up of memories and data, but the Abyss is devoid of hope, while light, or primordial energy, is condensed hope. And not only do the Genesis crystals share the exact same color as Dottore's vials, celestial nails, and Irminsul, the Tree of Life's, insides, but it also directly translates to world creation crystals, which implies that it is the foundational power that was used for the world's creation. And in the Genshin manga, we actually see a panel of a god who takes the form of an eye, using glowing blue Lego blocks to create the world. Furthermore, the description of the crystals describes them as energy crystals from the very origin of the universe. Formed from within nothingness, out of pure potential and hope, they contain enough energy to create a newborn star. In other words, Genesis crystals were the very first source of energy within the universe, and they were born from nothingness, the Abyss, out of pure potential and hope, the only thing that separates the abyss from light. Not only are primogems oddly star-shaped, but they're also said to shine with the condensed hopes and dreams of universes that once were. Simply put, primogems are made of or contain the condensed hope and data of other universes. And during Genshin's beta, the primogem icon was slightly different, and you could clearly see it radiating a pure, white, bright light. And what do stars do? Light up dark universes. And before you say that Genesis crystals and primogems are solely gameplay features, I disagree. Even if it isn't an exact one-to-one replica, I am a firm believer that gameplay features are almost always mimicking or hinting at things in the story. An example of this is how we were shown a replica of the wish screen in Yoimiya's story quest, despite not getting any chi-chis sent down. So, if the blue primordial energy within the Genesis crystals came first, where did Phlogiston originate? Well, I'm actually wondering if Phlogiston may be the energy contained within primogems, or whatever form they take in the story. Although the Genesis crystals start off as blue, the primogems they get converted to are a mix of yellow, pink, purple, and blue, and it may even have the capacity to radiate all colors. Similarly, although the inside of Iraminsul is blue, the physical tree we see outside of it is yellow, pink, and faintly purple. If the insides of Iraminsul are made from the same energy within Genesis crystals, the primogen-colored form we see on the outside may be its conversion into phlogiston, like how we convert blue Genesis crystals to multicolored primogems. The white light that radiates from Iraminsul may be the purest form of phlogiston, which gets broken down into the 7 elements as it's filtered through the ley lines. Circling back to Yohuel's statement, Hoyo was undeniably referencing Genesis. Genesis is the name of the first chapter of the Christian Bible, and it starts off by stating that, "In the beginning of God's preparing the heavens and earth, the earth hath existed waste and void, and darkness on the face of the deep, till God said, Let light be, and light is." As shown throughout Natlan's Archon Quests, Teyvat would be a world waste and void, and shrouded in darkness if people didn't have primordial energy, light, and elements to defend themselves from the encroaching darkness of the abyss. And the same blue stabilization energy used to combat the abyss may also be what's sustaining Teyvat's firmament, which would explain why the barriers in domains and the sustainer's shielding power are both blue. Perhaps the red glitches she now has across her arms come from her sealing chaotic abyssal enemies and data within during the cataclysm in order to save Teyvat. And perhaps whoever created the Sea of Flowers at the end also has the stabilizing power, which would explain why the Genesis crystals are depicted with intivats surrounding them. If so, that may be why the Abyss Twin does not want to leave Teyvat yet. Perhaps they'll be the one to create the Sea of Flowers in the future, utilizing their newfound powers of creation. Powers that would allow them to create a new world for them to both rule. That new world being a recreation of Kenria made by pulling lost memories of the civilization from the abyss and then stabilizing it.
At the end of my journey, I arrived at a place known as the Sea of Flowers at the end. A long time ago, when we traveled between worlds together, you told me you wanted to find a place in the universe where that one flower was in full bloom. To have a place like that suddenly appear before me. Well, would you think of that as a coincidence?
Post-video syncs here. I know that things started to go a little off the rails near the end, but I couldn't go without mentioning the Genesis crystals at least once. I initially planned on including a section for Capitano and Renova as well, but they really deserve their own dedicated videos. A few more relevant bits I left out is that the Genesis Pearl in the Battle Pass cutscene may be an allegory for the Genesis Crystal. If so, the Silver Pearl may have been the ancient moon, which may have contained the primordial energy that was used for creation before it got shattered and the energy got released. The moon seen from Teyvat glows a faint blue, and the alchemy benches also have a blue glow, which may indicate that the primordial power of stabilization allows them to function and transmute material items. This may be why the fairy tale version of Scaramouche says that the moon is the answer to all things. Its power may be the origin of all things, excluding the abyss. Perhaps the snake in the Battle Pass cutscene is the primordial one, or Nibelung, seizing control of the moon's power to terraform the world. If so, that may be why the power used for the ancient draconic technology is a secret. Additionally, Khaenri'ah might have also wanted to obtain the power of stabilization from the celestial nails so that they could stabilize the abyssal power, overtaking Khaenri'ah, and make use of it later on. This would explain why the Ruin Guards on Dragonspine were tasked with obtaining power from the nail. They might have been doing something similar beforehand with the ley lines, which would explain why the broken pillars in Khaenri'ah also had a blue glow. Also, while investigating the blue barrier in the spiral abyss, I found these big tubes full of blue energy, potentially sourced from the ley lines. And you can't convince me they don't look like bigger versions of the vial Dottore was holding in Winter's Night Lazo. I wonder if Piero is the one who initially told Dottore about the potential of ley line energy, or if Dottore discovered it while on an expedition through the abyss, which would explain why he didn't develop his segments till some time after he joined the Fatui. The stabilization energy within the ley lines may also be what's helping Piero maintain his form despite the curse. And while on the topic of powers and colors, Celestia's original power may be red. I have my reasons, but I'll save that deep dive for the next time I emerge from the abyss and post a new video. But what do I know? These are just my outlandish speculations. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and/or subscribing. I hope you all have a great rest of your days, evenings, and nights. See you in the Night Kingdom.